Question in the courts quiz tonight. What was the name of the two-wheeled cart specifically designed to transport barrels of molasses through Bridgetown? The Spider. The evidence of the group financial director of CL Financial attracted intense scrutiny from the Commission of Inquiry investigating the collapse of CL Financial. We have more in this report.
As the Commission of Inquiry continues to unravel and trace the investments that used billions of dollars of CLICO policyholders' money and led to the failure of CL Financial, the Commission's chairman, Sir Anthony Coleman, heard how the group's former chairman was paid over $1 billion.
But in your dealing with the accounts of CLF,
yes,
were you aware that between the period 2004 to 2008, CLICO paid through CLF for the benefit of Mr. Dupree, or to Mr. Dupree,
yes,
through his company Dalco, the sum of $1.1 billion?
I was not aware of that at all.
And if we were to do the math, Mr. Caballo, Mr. Dupree, in effect, collected between the period 2004 and 2008 a sum in excess of $200 million per year.
Well, I was not aware of that, and I would hope that you could direct that presumably to Mr. Dupree and Mr. Montai if he comes before this commission.
And we will do.
Attorneys representing various interests continued their cross-examination of Michael Carballo, the man who for the past 4 days dropped bombs about the financial dealings of the company, but who found himself being bombarded by questions over the reliability of some of his evidence, such as the evaluation of CLICO Energy. Carballo said it had been sold for hundreds of millions of dollars, less than it was worth. The company that bought CLICO Energy, Proman, said the evaluation was flawed.
And yet in this valuation that you rely upon as the basis on which you form a view that my clients purchased CLICO Energy at an undervalue, there is an obvious and blatant and drastic mistake that significantly overstates the value that it puts on the company, because instead of the discounted value being discounted, it's actually inflated instead. Isn't that right?
Well, one would have to go through.
Isn't that right, Mr. Carballo?
Well, we'll have to go and check these figures again.
Well, Trinidad's Minister of Transport, Devon Maraj, has announced that the Cabinet has approved the establishment of an inter-island ferry service between Trinidad and Tobago and the Eastern Caribbean. The minister said the service will be financed on a public-private arrangement with the majority of capital expenditure from the private sector. He said it is hoped that the service be extended as far as Jamaica. Maharaj said the price to travel on the ferry will be competitive, perhaps US $10. The ferry will be based in Port of Spain. Ahead in the Lime Sports World, T20 cricket action. Before that, however, our tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Common problems associated with Alzheimer's are frustration because of difficulties communicating and difficulties making decisions. This tip was brought to you in association with the Barbados Alzheimer's Association.
Tonight's business report is brought to you by Banks Holdings Limited. Many companies, one goal, excellence.
Good evening, I'm Kent Jerson with the business report. Now, managing cash flow is a key requirement for the long-term survival of any business. That's why it was the topic at a seminar sponsored by Scotiabank in partnership with the Small Business Association as part of activities for Small Business Week. The session dealt with the causes of cash flow problems and how to avoid them. Ryan Hunt was one of the presenters from Scotiabank's small business team.
Cash flow is one of the most important duties for any small business or, for any business owner. So you could have a very profitable business, but yet you could have cash flow problems. When people hear this, they would say, well, how can that happen? But if you have your receivables and they look very good on your balance sheet and your business looks profitable, but you're not getting the money coming in as quickly, then you could have some serious cash flow problems. A lack of cash flow is one of the main causes of business failure.
And Scotiabank's acting general manager, Jennifer Murray, talked about why the financial institution is giving considerable attention to small businesses.
The focus for Scotiabank, of course, is really helping customers, small business segment, which is really, to us, a very distinct and important segment that really helps our economy to, is the engine that really runs the economy. And we at Scotiabank are very cognizant of that important fact, and have really dedicated some time and focus to this segment.
And there is now a third Mishi store in Barbados as the local distributor continues its bid to make the brand a household name. The latest store, open to sell the trendy women's bags, is located in Lanterns Mall in Hastings, Christchurch. Lord Michael Taylor is the man behind Mishi in Barbados. He's been telling the Business Report why he chose to expand to the South Coast and why at this mall.
It struck us that Lanterns has hit the right note with the local people in Barbados as well as tourists. The mall is well laid out. It attracts people because it's active and it's busy in the evening. There are some very good food courts here and what have you. So we felt that this was a location that we would be able to sell our product from based on foot flow. As you know, we're located on the west coast, and we also have a central outlet in the Greenwich, or at the Greenwich. So Lanterns was almost an obvious choice.
A brief look at the stocks now is a summary of today's trading on some of the region's exchanges.
As Banks Holdings Limited grows and expands to meet increasing global challenges, we remain a true Bajan success story. Not only are BHL products a part of every Bajan home, but we're in the region and increasingly even further afield. So as you continue to make Banks Holdings Limited part of your life, you continue to strive for excellence.
BHL, many companies, one goal, BHL.
On the global stage now, attention is focused on International Monetary Fund and World Bank annual meetings in Washington as financial markets wait to hear if there are concrete and feasible plans to tackle the global economic crisis.
Certainly seems to be an acknowledgement. Everybody's kind of getting on board about the fact that we are facing a crisis. The question is, can they deliver action? Can they do something to help the markets? I put that question to Mohammed Al-Arian, CEO of PIMCO, a frequent guest on this show, who's down here for the meetings as well. And I asked him what needs to be done. Have a listen.
They can do three things. One is agree on a common analysis of the issues facing the global economy. If you don't have a common analysis, there's no solution. Two, commit to a vision. Europe needs to commit to a vision of what it wants to look like in 5 years' time. The US has to commit to a vision to what it wants to look like. And thirdly, assign either explicitly or behind closed door a coordinator. You need someone to coordinate this whole process.
That's Business This Friday. David Best and the latest weather up next.
Tonight's business report was brought to you by Banks Holdings Limited. Many companies, one goal, excellence.
Stay tuned for the CBC Weather News, brought to you with the kind compliments of United Insurance. You're in safe hands with United.
A very good evening to all. We had a lovely day here in Barbados and indeed across most of the island chain with a fairly significant pickup in the wind speeds. That made the difference. It was a lot cooler. Take a look at the extreme temperatures. At 2, we read 30.9 degrees Celsius at the airport. The overnight low was 25.1. At 6 o'clock, skies were fair at the airport. the temperature was down to 28 degrees Celsius, the humidity 79%, and the winds were coming out of the northeast at 19 kilometers per hour. The apparent temperature today at noon, just 32 degrees Celsius, and as I indicated, there was a fairly significant pickup in the wind speeds. Now, in the eastern Atlantic, there's a fair bit of activity, Barbados and the island chain around here. There's one tropical wave in the vicinity of 36 degrees west, and yet another area of low pressure that is some 800 miles to the southeast of the Cape Verde Islands. The system is presently moving to the west at about 15 miles per hour. The environment looks fairly favorable for some intensification, and over the next 24 hours this system could be upgraded to tropical depression, and of course we're going to be watching that system very, very closely. Now, in the island chain today, we had, because of the significant pickup in wind speeds, the high pressure system, and that made conditions quite, we had lovely conditions. Most of the moisture trapped in the lower levels of the atmosphere, not significant, and just generated a few scattered showers. But Tropical Storm Ophelia, this system strengthened marginally this evening. Let's put the cloud in motion. At 5 o'clock, the center of that system was in the vicinity of 15.8 degrees north, 53.8 degrees west, or some 540 miles to the east of the Leeward Islands. The system is presently moving to the west-northwest at about 15 miles per hour, and the maximum sustained winds have increased to about 60 miles per hour. Actually, a reconnaissance aircraft was in the system this evening, and they noted some quite strong winds in the northeastern quadrant of the system. The system, however, over the next 48 hours or so is expected to continue to fluctuate, but the projected path still takes the system to the north of the area. But as it draws closest to the region, the moisture levels are going to be on the increase, and these increases in moisture level will make a difference. I'll be back after the break.
This is the unfortunate event that damaged the house of the family that is insured with United. Homeowners insured with United Insurance don't need to worry about what will happen after a disaster strikes, because they know that United will always be there, helping them put things back together again by providing insurance for houses and contents. Don't worry, you're in safe hands with United.
And this depicts exactly what we think of tomorrow's weather. This, of course, associated with Tropical Storm Ophelia as it moves to the north of the area, and that should be sometime around late Saturday into Sunday. But there's going to be a gradual increase in moisture, not just in the lower levels. The moisture is going to be spread in the mid and upper levels. Now, with the movement of Ophelia towards the area, the winds are going to be dropping off, not just at the surface, and we're going to be looking at the possibility of some localized afternoon activity here in Barbados. Now, the band that you saw sweeping to the southwest of Ophelia, that is going to be adding to the moisture profile quite significantly around late Saturday into Sunday, and the shower activity is expected to be a lot more widespread. Let's take a look at our 4-day prediction. We're going to be looking at Saturday through to Tuesday, and the moisture levels are going to be increasing quite significantly. As I indicated, the winds are going to be dropping off, so a mixture of localized convection along with widespread activity from that band. And by Sunday, we're going to be looking at cloudy skies and scattered showers. There may even be some afternoon thunderstorms thrown in. But towards Tuesday, the atmosphere is going to start to dry out. But of course, we're going to be keeping you updated on the weather profile. There's nothing cast in stone as far as the weather is concerned. Let's take a look now at some statistics. The sunrise tomorrow, 5:47. Sunset will be at 5:54. The tides, the first high tide is going to be one high tide actually at 12:55. The first low tide tomorrow morning, 27 minutes after 6. The other one is going to be at 27 minutes after 6 in the p.m. The seas, because of the strong winds being generated in the eastern Atlantic, rough and open water swells up to 4 meters or 12 feet. So we're urging you to be very, very cautious playing the waters around the region. The winds east-northeasterly to east-southeasterly 10 to 30 kilometers per hour. The forecast for Barbados for tonight, fair to partly cloudy with a few scattered showers. And come tomorrow, partly cloudy, becoming increasingly cloudy with scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms.